Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation. Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I'm your host, Justin D. Morgan, and no, it is not warm in my basement. All right, now that we've gotten that question out of the way, let's see here who we have in the chat. We have Hardware Hacker. Hi, Hardware Hacker. I think the heating pad did what I needed it to do for... It'll last for a few hours. Let's see here. Hardware Hacker says, public service announcement. I'm planning on streaming either next weekend or the Saturday following. Awesome. Hoping to cover the installation of the Apple PC compatibility card in a blue and white Power Mac G3, more or less mirroring Ron's setup, but going more in depth. All right. We have Thomas Armstrong, same start as the hockey game. Did not intend that. We have I8386SX. Hi, Jesse. Welcome. We have Socket Wrench. Hi, Socket Wrench. Welcome. Let's see here. I am doing okay. My back is okay. That's why I needed the heating pad. I will probably be aggravated again tomorrow when FedEx leaves more packages at the top of my driveway. Yay for me for picking the accidentally picking the worst time to order shelving from Lowe's. I didn't tweak my back until after they had shipped all the boxes. Let's see here. We have Callan. Hi, Callan. We have Gupam. Hi, Jason. We have RetroTech Chris. Hi, Chris. All right, let's see here. We got the VCF East goal. Link is in the description. And without further ado, because the boxes have been piling up, whoops, I think I gave away more than I usually do before running this important announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes up with these titles anyway?
Yes, VCF East is closing in, and I can't wait. And let's see here, April something something. I need to go look. Yeah, I think it's the 17th through the 19th. So anyways, I believe after the last few Wheel of Regrets entries come in, I probably won't have any or of any significance for a while because I'm saving it for VCF East. But in the month of January, I did order some things, and I will take advantage of screamingly good deals. So this first one comes to us from an eBay seller in California. To hide all my viewers and eBay sellers in California, since I wasn't sure what it was, I already opened it, and it is an 8 gigabyte SATA disk-on module that the seller had sent me an offer on. So this will come in handy for some newer systems. I'll probably use an IDE to SATA adapter and try this on some system. But it was 8 gigabytes, and seller didn't put an invoice in it, so I don't remember what their their offer was that they sent me, but it was pretty cheap for one of these, so I thought I'd give one a try and see how well they work. So anyways, looks cool. 8 gigabyte little SATA disk module. So we'll give that a try someday. All right, let's see here. We'll toss everything off to the side. All right, the next item, these are in no particular order. This next item comes to us from an eBay seller in Oregon. who used a label that I'm surprised the Postal Service accepted because everything is so small on it, but I guess given improvements in technology, they were probably still able to scan it, so if it scans, it ships, I guess. You know, some days I'm just glad that I don't get things with fake postage on them, so I guess I will just be glad that that it actually arrived. I'm looking for my box opener, and I've managed to misplace it apparently. Oh, there it is. All right, found it. Yeah, I hope you get to go to VCF East, Jesse. It'll be good to finally meet you in person. So hopefully that works out for you. Chris says, if you are going, I'll drive up the nice car. Yep, I will be drifting around the exhibits I'm not exhibiting. Maybe next year I'll exhibit again. It's a lot of work to exhibit, so I hope everyone understands that sometimes I can exhibit, and sometimes I just have to go as a drifter. I will try to have stickers with me, though, so if you see me and want a channel sticker, I'll make sure I have stickers. But we have, yes, 228 megabyte compact flashcards. They need no further introduction. Chris says, I'm not exhibiting. I'm not an exhibitionist. Yeah. I know, it seems like I'd be exhibiting this time around because of the theme of the show, but with the release schedule at work, I just can't take enough time off to be an exhibitor. That's probably the main reason. Hi, Mega, welcome. All right, this next potential regret comes to us from an eBay seller in the smallest state in the United States, and that would be Rhode Island. So, hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Rhode Island. Fun fact, Rhode Island is not an island. Ah, we have something in a black poly bag. Oh yeah, there we go. Mega says, just done drilling a hole through my desk to set up dual monitors on arms, and now I have so much more desk space. Nice. Yes, Brandon Bishop's going to be there. Awesome. Okay, Gutbomb says, technically there is an island. The whole state name is longer, and Rhode Island is just part of the name, and the part that's stuck. Mega says, now my room smells like sawdust. LGR would be proud. And we have a Diamond Speedstar 24 video card, because I needed another ISA video card like I need Trident cards. Oh wait, that probably doesn't make any sense to all you all. You all think I need more Trident cards. Anyways, there we go. I don't remember what the eBay seller wanted for it, but it was a price that could not be passed up, because quite honestly, they probably underpriced it. It does have the ET4000AX chipset on it, so yeah, these tend to go for a bit, and I saw it, and I bought it now because it was not going for the usual trending price. Yeah, it's the ET4000AX. Yeah, normally they go for a lot. It went for a price where I didn't think twice, and I just bought it, so that probably tells you. Chris says, okay, you gotta tell us how much. Alright. Let me open up eBay, I'll let you know what I paid for it. Then you all can let me know how good or bad of a deal I got. Hopefully I don't realize that I made the mistake and got two items confused, but I'll fess up to it if I made a mistake. Let's see here. I gotta scroll past the actual Trident card in my purchase history because it hasn't arrived yet. Oh yeah, oh yeah, I think I did get a pretty good deal on it. The buy it now price was $49. Free shipping. So it was like 50. Chris says good price. Yeah, it was like one of those prices I didn't even think twice. So I had ET4000AX. All right, the next item comes to us from an eBay seller in Michigan. Oh yeah, that explains why it was round. They sent it in tape. I believe me, there is a method to my madness here. But I had bought a couple items from the same seller, and these are some Keystone Jacks. Because I want to put a small I was thinking of putting a small patch panel on my new workbench, so I ordered some Keystone Jacks, along with something else from the same seller. So, yeah, they made a nice little container to then be able to send them in a poly envelope, but looks like they arrived safe. I think there's like 10 of them. So, yep, prepping the bench build. So, just so you all know, I haven't forgotten about it, but I did order some Keystone Jacks. So, anyways, I was trying to take advantage of an offer I had, so I ordered some Keystone Jacks from... there are 2 items I'm not opening tonight. My back is not going to cooperate with me bringing them downstairs. One of them is kind of heavy. The other item is just bulky. So I think I bought those along... Actually, I don't remember what the other item was. So I don't know if I don't remember if I've opened it or not. But anyways, we got four more boxes, and then we'll get to the Super Socket 7 board that's right here. This next item actually arrived today, and it comes to us from an eBay seller in New Hampshire. So, hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in New Hampshire. Yeah, I guess on the bench build, because I showed these on a previous live stream, if it says anything, I'd found these from Amazon. So I am going to have some rack rails on my bench, and so I was thinking I might need a patch panel because of reasons. I mean, we're geeks. I don't think I need to explain why we'd have a patch panel. But I was also going to rack mount my scaler and Extron device. And, oh yeah. So, we have a video card here. Yeah, we have some friends in New Hampshire. I'm not sure if they have an eBay store. Alright. I'll let you all take a moment to guess what that is. But it does have some power cables. I don't know if that's the original power cable or a replacement. But Sakura says it's a bag. Oh yeah. It's an ATI. I almost hate to open this because it looks... The eBay seller took so much care in packaging it. I'll let the chat maybe take a guess as to which one it might be, because actually I'm kind of not 100% sure which one it is either, because I can tell you what the seller said it was, and I'm not sure that was correct. But anyways, all right, we'll open it up. Oh, there we go. Now I can kind of spoil the back. There you go. I do feel bad for it not being a, Mega says some 9000. Yeah, I believe it is a 9000 series. Sadbeck says, all I can tell you offhand is it's a video card. Yeah. So there we go. It is a nice red PCB. It has 2 DVI ports and not a DVI and an AGP. So if this is what the seller was saying it was, this is, I think, a professional 9000 series video card. The add-on card is the other video port. I've seen that connector unpopulated on 9000 series cards, and apparently it looks like that is for other display options. I'm wondering if the rest of the connector might be for flat panel. Yeah, it is really strange. Unfortunately, this is the first time I'm actually clearly seeing some of these labels. So that part number will probably tell us what this actually is. Or we can just try it here shortly, but I'll have to get I can't use the Socket 7 board because I think this is a AGP 8X or 4X card, and Super Socket 7 doesn't do the right thing for that. I don't want to damage my ATI card. So, the seller said this was a Fire GL X1. Which, given the fact it has 2 DVI ports, I could not totally exclude that possibility that this actually is a Fire GL card. But the Fire GL X1, when I did a quick web search, what came up instead was Radeon 9700. So this I think actually might be a Radeon 9700. But it could be a Fire GL card. So it may actually be the professional card. In any event, I think it uses the same drivers in either case, so we may have to install drivers to figure out exactly which card this is. But anyways, I think in either case, it's going to be a nice little card for that era build. I'm looking. Yeah, I was looking. Yeah, they said it was an ATI Fire GL X1, 128 megabytes. Tested low miles. I quite honestly, I thought the low miles part was a nice touch. $65. I honestly, yeah. Chris says low miles. Haha. I thought no matter what it is, being a higher end 9000 series card, even if it turned out to be a 9600 with 2 DVI ports, I was like, okay, I think $65 is worth the gamble, even if it turns out that it's like a 6500 or 60 or 9600 or something like that. It's like, okay, we're in the ballpark. It's definitely not a 9000. I think I can tell that much by looking at the card. Could it be like a 9500 Pro, a 9600, 9600 Pro, 9700? Yeah, we'll at some point we'll install drivers and figure out what it is, and then we'll know for sure. But I was like, okay, my web search for Fire GL X1 is not turning up as much as I would hope. I'm seeing references of 9700. $65 is worth the gamble. Because quite honestly, I was looking for a higher end 9700 card for a build. I will have to remember which build I wanted it for, but I'm sure I'll remember fairly quickly. But anyways, Third from the last box, eBay seller in Oregon. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Oregon. So, one of the 2 states in the United States where you cannot fill your own car with gas. New Jersey being the other state. Callan says, looks exactly like a 9700 on eBay. Fingers crossed. Yes. All right. Oh, interesting. It's packaged in a bubble envelope that has a mailing label on it with someone else's address. Oh, speaking of New Jersey, the bubble envelope that they shipped this in originally shipped from New Jersey, so it went from one state that you can't fill your own car with gas to the other. How funny I mentioned that. Oh, Gutbomb says Oregon has changed now. You can pump your own gas there. Okay. Chris says that envelope has made a left turn in its life. Yeah, let's... Oh, looky here. Yet another bubble envelope with someone else's address on it. All right. Are we going to get to the actual... All right. And now that I got to the actual thing that I was looking for, you know what's mad, dog? Oh, boy. Okay, this fan is, quite crusty gross. Jesse says, you wouldn't understand. It's a Jersey thing. Retrotech Chris says, grammar hard, yeah. Gutpop says, perfect for the Mad Dog, yeah. So, it's a Mad Dog GeForce 4 or something or other, and I probably overpaid for it. So, but this is the card for the Mad Dog build. Now, I so much want to build the Mad Dog build. I might just have to pull the motherboard out to test this and the other ATI card, because it'll support whatever AGP that is. But there we go. It's a Mad Dog video card, a higher end one. So, there we go. All right, and I am looking for something in this pile of boxes. This is the second to last one here from an eBay seller in California. So, hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in California. Oh, wait, I already said that once. So, if anyone... I'm hoping this... Oh, you know, actually, that's right. The card I'm looking for hasn't arrived yet. January, I think, was the month for video cards for some reason. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is not a video card. This is a motherboard. All right. At least I think it's a motherboard. I'm having trouble figuring out how the package... While I open this package, I will, I would like to give an honorable, a dishonorable mention to, the ice storm that happened after we got snow. That made the postal carrier today put a little notice in my mailbox with a diagram that shows the correct and incorrect way of clearing the approach to your mailbox. To which... made me more frustrated because I don't know how I am supposed to clear the approach to my mailbox, given the fact that it snowed and then it sleeted. And I think sometime during the sleet storm, VDOT plowed the road, meaning that there's now a hump of... It created a hump on the side of the road in front of my mailbox. And then we got freezing rain, which congealed all that into a block of ice. And then it stayed below freezing all of last week. So I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to clear the approach to my mailbox. So I'm giving the dishonorable mention of the snowstorm because apparently, according to the USPS, I'm supposed to clear a 30-foot wide approach to my mailbox. Like 15 feet on each side of it. Hi, Mike. Welcome. Yeah. Chris says, oh, VDOT. In their entire existence, VDOT has never done a single thing right. Yeah. So I have a pile of ice that prevents the proper approach to my mailbox, and the carrier left a note in my mailbox today, and all I could think of was, and I'm supposed to do what? Because this is ice. Like a solid block of ice. Am I supposed to take a blowtorch to this? Rent movie spotlights for a day? I don't know how I'm supposed to remove it. But anyways, we have a Turbo XT motherboard that, yeah. Chris says, one time a stop sign showed up in a strange place. Someone called VDOT and asked, why is it there? They said, oh, no idea, and took it down. Soccer says, Minneapolis will do that, and they leave snarky post-its on my garbage bins. Yeah, I know. There's so much ice that I haven't moved the trash can to the curb yet because my driveway, due to the ice on either side of it, is only wide enough for a single car. This might be why FedEx left packages at the end of my driveway on Tuesday. But anyways, I am going to have to pull out of my driveway, stop in the street, and then I'll be able to roll my trash can to the curb. And which means for sure when FedEx delivers those shelves tomorrow, they are going to leave them at the end of the driveway, and it will become my problem to get them into my garage. But anyways, it's a Turbo XT motherboard that I bought for weird reasons. There will probably be a video at some point whenever I get around to it. It's a Soyo motherboard, but it looks like so many other motherboards out there. Chris says, my trash can was frozen to the ground. It took some work to get it out. I bet it did. Fortunately, my trash can didn't freeze to the ground, but unfortunately, like, I haven't been able to clear my sidewalk from my driveway to my front door, so it's ice. There's no clearing it. Mega says, what, you don't have a $20,000 Bobcat? With inflation, they're more like really expensive these days. Oh, Chris says, and let's not forget when VDOT tore the bumper off my new car in a grocery parking lot and ran and showed up later drunk when they found him. Oof. Yeah, I remember that. So this final item here, before we get to Super Socket 7, comes to us from New York. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in New York. I will at least say this one got marked as fragile. So it is fragile. But I'll have you know, I normally am able to clear snow, but the storm was so bad that my snow clearing help pretty much had to say that I can't get sidewalks because it's already ice. And I mean, it took him a really long while to clear the driveway, and fortunately he had mechanical help. So, because the thing is, it snowed, and we got like 1 to 2 inches of snow here, and then we pretty much had a full day of sleet. I mean, it was sleeting from like when I woke up to, I think when I went to bed, I think it was still sleeting. And then sometime overnight, we got enough freezing rain to basically turn all the sleet into a block of ice. So, and then it stayed below freezing. And when I say below freezing, I mean like it did not get above 32 degrees Fahrenheit until I think Sunday. I think Sunday during the day, we finally got to 33 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. And then luckily this week, we've had a couple slightly warmer days. Chris says Kathleen spent like 5 hours outside chipping ice off at the driveway. Yeah, I know. I'm probably going to have to try to chip some ice this weekend. The best I can. It is supposed to at least be warm enough this weekend that maybe... Socket Rich says it gets freezing in winter. Gets above freezing in winter. Yeah, we had, it was, we don't normally get, like, that prolonged cold, but there was a polar vortex from Canada, and the way I guess the jet stream was. I think this week, the jet stream is reversing, and so it's kind of pushing the polar vortex back north. And I think the Midwest is going to get some below average temperatures instead, so at least if I understood the weather forecast. Jesse says, I have the same question about winter. Yeah. Anyways, we have, for the final item, yet another Emerson 8800 EC motherboard. I am not going to admit to how many of these motherboards that I have, because you all probably know that I have at least one of the full computers, but spoiler alert, it's 2 full computers. And I have a couple of the motherboards because of various reasons, not the least of which is one of my full computers isn't detecting all the RAM, and one of my full computers, I think the motherboard's in it's dead, and I think one of the spare motherboards I have is dead. So when I saw another one of these appear, because it's not a standard AT motherboard, I picked this one up. Also, the other reason is it looked like it was a different version of the BIOS than some of my other boards, so it'll get archived. Hopefully the BIOS is readable. But anyways, yeah. Yet another Emerson 8800 EC motherboard, because I would like to get both of my Emerson 8800 EC computers back up and running, because one of them has, I don't know if it's the factory original hard drive, but it has a period correct hardware, or period correct hard drive that appears to have the original software on it. Anyways, that's all the potential regrets we have, so we will get to this Super Socket 7 motherboard. So a quick recap, and let me go ahead and turn on my smart outlet here. All right. So this is a Super Socket 7 motherboard that I believe this one was given to me, if I haven't gotten my motherboards mixed up. So this one's an ALI M1541 based motherboard. It is an FIC brand. No, correction. This is an Asus P5A. I can't read, partly because to my angle, the PCI slot is blocking the brand. So this is an Asus P5A. Oh, that's right. The FIC motherboard is currently sitting to my right, and it's not a Super Socket 7 motherboard. So this is an Asus P5A It is an ALI M1541 based motherboard. I've got like 64 megs of RAM in it, I believe. It has 512K of cache, AGP, 5 PCI, 2 ISA. I know the PCI and ISA are off the screen. I'll zoom out here momentarily so you can see. So anyways, it is a definitely a Super Socket 7 motherboard because we do have the AGP slot. I believe it is AGP. I think it's just AGP 1X because these are going to be some of the original AGP boards. This video card here, even though it's keyed for both voltages, this card I don't really care about, so if I'm actually overvolting it, too bad. It's like not really, it's nothing special, and I've had it in AGP 1X boards long enough that I've probably already done damage to it if it really isn't dual voltage. I am not going to risk my better cards. This is my designated, I know it works, and it appears to be working in a 3.3 volt AGP slot, no problem. So it's the one I use for any AGP motherboard. I believe this is 64 megabytes of RAM. The processor is an AMD K6-2. 450, I believe. Let me see if I can get it out. I had it out of the slot, or out of the socket earlier to update the thumbnail photo. Oh, no, it's a 500. The interesting thing about this processor is it's not acting like a K6-2. When we'll power this up and recap it, and I'll show you what I mean. Honestly, I thought there should be a number printed down here on this lower left-hand corner, and I don't see it. Not to say that it wasn't there, but I think something has rubbed it off. And quite honestly, I don't really want to remove this heat spreader to confirm, but I'm wondering if someone has done something to this chip. Yeah, Mega says, I'm really surprised that K6-2 is a terrible overclocker. So here's the label on the bottom. It looks like 303.99.50. If I had to guess, that's probably March 3rd, 1999. Which is probably about right for when this might have been for sale. And there's the part number sticker, and someone's written K6-500 on it. So nothing on the outward appearance that makes it look like it's something special. But let's power this system up, and I'll show you what the quandary is. Yes, I said it was a 400, but it's been like 2 weeks since I looked at the system. And I think I had a couple processors in the system. So I said 400, but that's probably because the 400 is in this pile of CPUs right here. I think the CPU in question is this one here. That's the 500. But I do have a 400 in that pile somewhere. I'm pretty sure of it. So let's make sure that everything is working, and we'll confirm what I was seeing 2 weeks ago. All right, I do want to put a heatsink on this, a heatsink with a fan. All right, we'll go ahead and turn on the power supply there. I think that's the power switch right there. And all right, will it post the second time? That's weird. Hmm. No. If you're not seeing a video image, and neither am I, this is really weird. I'm gonna have to grab my postcard. Or maybe I don't have the AGP card pushed in all the way. Alright. Power the system down. Let me make sure. Yeah, it's probably a dirty CPU socket. Oh, there we go. It also might, the board might also need to be recapped. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is not the processor that's in, the processor in question, I don't think. Hold on, I'm gonna have to go find the processor. It's the 300, the K6-2 300 we were having trouble with. Which is why I said 400, and then that was a 500. It's because it's actually a K6-2 300 that we were seeing something interesting with. I only pulled this one out to run a... to see what it did. Alright, so let's, So yeah, I have this 500 clocked to 300. In fact, actually, I think it is set to, yes, 66 megahertz times 4.5. That'll help me find the processor in question. So, according to the CPU identification, this is an authentic AMD K6 3D processor. The CPU ID is 00058C, which I believe is correct for the K6-2 Chomper Extended. Yeah, that looks fine. Size of L1 cache, 64K. Alright, that looks good. If we run cache check is having trouble with the CPU clock speed. But anyways, alright. We'll run cache check. I do not know why on this board it's starting at 64 kilobytes. But we do see 64 kilobytes to 512 kilobytes. We have 3 microseconds per kilobyte, and then it jumps up to 5. So that does match with the size of the level 2 cache on the motherboard. Yeah, I should deoxit. I'll deoxit the CPU socket when I remove the processor. I do not know why it's showing hyphens there for the smaller access sizes. It could be that they're so small that it was basically 0. Or maybe that's just it telling us it rounded down to 0. I do believe on the 0 megabyte, the reason why there's nothing above 512 kilobytes is because there isn't a whole megabyte for it to use under a megabyte. So I'm pretty sure that's why there's nothing past that, but I think that's why it jumps down to 4 megabytes, so it can run a 4 megabyte test. And now we got to wait for it to finish because I have 64 megabytes of memory, which will give me a chance to find the 300 megahertz processor that we were seeing something interesting with. And I believe it's this one right here that has the label on it. Yes, it is. It is the one that has the label on the front. Yes. So there we go. I have found the K6-2 300 we were having issues with. I also grabbed all my other K6-2 processors. So I have a second K6-2 300 of what appears to be on the outside the same variety, but it actually has the gold number printed on it that I was expecting. I also do have a K6-2 400. And I think I've got another K6-2. Nope, this is a K6-2 533 that I believe I bought from an eBay seller that has a bunch of K6-2 533s. Oh, no, wait. Those are K6-2 plus 533s I think that seller has. I should pick one of those up, but I was kind of going to wait to VCF East potentially for a K6-2 plus or a K6-3 plus. Because it looks like I have two 533s. Two 533s, two 300s, and a 500 and a 400. Because I find the K6-2s and K6-3s special. So when I see them show up for on eBay for less than $10, I buy them for the lulz of testing them on stream. And then I stick them in my processor box until I have an excuse to pull them out. Like tonight. I probably have another one or two of them floating around the basement, truth be told. I do have one K6-3. I do not knowingly have any of the plus models, so let me see while we're waiting. Let me see if any of these are E models. I don't think they are. The E ones are the low power ones. Oh, if anyone saw that I had two processors here that had a metal lid, and it seemed like I didn't mention one of them, it's just a K6. Mega says K6-3 rare and plus even more so. Yeah, I bought a motherboard once that had a K6-3 on it. It's my second PC rebuild project. All right, none of these are E variants. Which probably makes sense. I don't think any of them were pulled from laptops. Usually the E variant would be found in a laptop, and those are usually run at anywhere between 1.6 to 2.0 volts core. These ones are all like 2.2 and 2.4 core. Which is good, because this motherboard I don't think does below 2.0 core. And one of the boards on my bench has a bug where, or it has the wrong version of the VRM, and if you set it for 2 volts, you get nothing. Which I guess is better than you set it for 2.0 volts and you get way more than you bargained for. So I guess I would rather it just generate nothing when you set it for 2 volts. Then, ha ha ha, you set an invalid setting, so I'm just going to give you full 5 volts. Yeah, Mega says some boards have undocumented voltage settings. Yes. Mega says, I found out my Super Socket 7 board can do 2 volts, but it's not in the manual. Well, in this case, this deviation is actually mentioned in the manual. The manual clearly says 2.0 volts doesn't work for this voltage regulator. So apparently, they knew they were using a voltage regulator that didn't support one of the voltages on the board, and it actually made it to the manual. Like, too bad, so sad, but we bought some of these, so oopsie, you can't have 2 volts. I don't know. There we go. This processor is working as I would expect for a K6-2. We have L1 cache of 32K. I believe that is correct. Because it's the K6-2 has a split cache. So I think it has I want to say it has 32K cache data and 32K cache of program, but I could be wrong. L2 cache is 512K. Okay, I expected that for the motherboard. The clock speed is completely wrong. I don't know how cache check is calculating that. Because that's wrong. CPU check. Again, CPU check sees the correct processor speed. Yeah, L1 cache 64K. It's because it's 32K program and 32K data cache. I don't know that processors necessarily do that anymore, but they might. I don't know. It might be just that caches nowadays are so large they don't really mention it anymore. All right. So that's this processor that I put in here as a sanity check. Oh, that's the other thing I need to do. Hold on. Actually, let me restart with I'm gonna restart and not load anything, and I want to run one other benchmark just to compare. All right, so I want to run SpeedSys. SpeedSys runs better when you don't have anything loaded in memory. So anyways, remember this is it is a 500 megahertz, but we've clocked it as a 300, and it interesting. All right, so it has benchmarked around a Pentium 133. Interesting. Interesting. This processor is also showing unusually low benchmarks. I was expecting it would be closer to a K6-2 266. Interesting. All right, so it's running its memory benchmark. That is very interesting. Because I thought this processor was actually running at the correct speed. Or at least it was benchmarking is what it's configured for. All right, I don't see any lines being drawn. Oh, wait, I do. The green line is at the very bottom of the chart. All right, here's what I was going to run the benchmarks on the other processor. No, Microsoft, I'm not giving you feedback now. But I'm thinking I'm going to. I was going to run the benchmarks on the other processor and then upgrade the BIOS, but I think I'm going to upgrade the BIOS first. That is not benchmarking right. Okay, so what am I upgrading the BIOS to? I am. So on the RetroWeb, there is a beta BIOS, which I believe is one that was created by someone to include support for the K6-2 and the K6-2 Plus and the K6-3 Plus. So I am going to. I was going to show you that this processor was benchmarking correctly, and then like pull the other one out and show that it was benchmarking incorrectly and do all this fancy stuff. But since this one's also not benchmarking correctly, we're going to update the BIOS first. So let's see here. Let me get this BIOS update onto a. Okay, not that. I'm trying to find a disk image with the flash utility on it. That one has. A word. I think I'm just about to create another disk image. Here we go. Let me start with this disk image here. Copy, paste, and this is the P5A BIOS. And yes, I would like you to add that file. And save that. Hold on. Let me also. Let me go grab another. I'm going to grab a second version of a word flash here. And disk image. go. And plenty of room free. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. So this is a beta BIOS created by someone in the community. It should have support for all of the K6-2 and 3 processors. And also large disk support. Or larger disk support. (1007A). Let me double check that. All right, so this BIOS has already been archived. And, oh, I did not boot from floppy. All right. Let's try that again. Actually, we don't need to boot from floppy. I do, though. Let me at least skip the startup files. I don't want hmm.sys in memory to do this. All right, so A. Oh. All right. Hold, please. My, Huh. Okay, maybe I didn't enable the floppy drive? That's weird. All right. Standard CMOS setup. Oh, sure enough. I've got the GoTech connected, but I forgot to enable it in the BIOS. That's better. I saw it seek, so... Oh, and there we go. It's actually booting from the floppy drive now. I need to edit the config.sys. Just ignore that. Nothing's wrong. Alright, so let's see. Award Flash 7.98 and 011.bin. Alright, hopefully Huh. It has not detected the... Looks like it locked up. Alright, we'll boot from the hard drive and I'll just skip startup files. Alright, there we go. Alright, sure. So that's interesting. It did detect a flash type. I may need to. The thing is, I don't know which version of the flash writing software I need to use. Okay, that one's probably not it. Well, maybe it needs HMM.sys loaded. I'll let it load it. Usually it runs without a memory manager, but we'll see. I may just try the latest version, but the problem is some flash chips got deprecated in later versions, and I haven't peeled the label off to try to figure out which one this is. But it is concerning it hasn't detected the flash type. Alright, so this version, it starts to read the bin file and then it just crashes. Alright, I didn't want to peel the label off the flash chip because it looks so nice, but it looks like I am going to have to peel the label to figure out what flash chip this is, and then I can hopefully look and... Alright, I'll try to do it carefully enough so I can maybe re-stick it. Oh, there we go. Here we go. The corner's lifted up. Oh. Okay. So oh, there's a paper label under it. That's... It's a V29C5100 21. Oh, no. T. V29C51002T. All right. Hi, Eric's Edge. Welcome. Trying to figure out what version of the word flash I need here. Five one 002T. Oh, interesting. The flash chip in this motherboard is not mentioned anywhere on the page with all of the different versions of a word flash. So let me just go ahead and copy the latest version onto the flash drive. Hopefully, it not being mentioned means that it just has it was added at some point, but hopefully not removed at some later point, because otherwise we could be here a while, me randomly trying different versions of a word flash. But these two versions, all right, we'll remove those. Image, I will add the version 899, which is the latest version of a word flash. And let me look at the page, because I can fit a couple on here. And I'm going to put 771 on it, because 771 says it supports the 29C51004, which is probably a larger part, but maybe it supports the O2 part as well. All right, because I can fit a couple versions on the disk image. All right. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if my programmer will support that chip. I would rather program it in system, since it's a flash chip, but if in system proves impossible, I'll see if the programmer can do it. All right, let me go ahead and open the programmer while we wait for this to boot. All right, so it is a 29C 51002. Oh, it's a Mosel Vitalik. And yes, my programmer does actually support it. So I guess worst comes to worst, we'll just force program it. All right, looks like the image is correct. All right, so let's see here. Word Flash 899, I think that was the latest version, 8.99. Interesting, it's not detecting the flash type. Programs files part number does not match with your system. Interesting. Let me see if there's any parameters I can specify. Let's see here. Okay, I don't see any. All right, let's try the other version of a word flash. I don't see any parameters that'll help us there. Hi, hardware hacker, welcome. We are trying to update a BIOS. And I believe the system crashed. All right, I think we are going to have to do this the hard way. All right. Luckily, we don't need to find some thugs to thunk us on the back of the head and take us to our evil uncle's penthouse suite. We're just going to pull the flash chip and program it in a programmer. All right, so what I'm going to do is put this in my programmer. I'm going to do first I'm going to do an ID check. Oh, it has no chip identification. Oh, that might be why we're having trouble programming it. All right. So I am going to clear the buffer because I loaded that bin file. Clear all buffer. All right. I am going to read. I'm going to read it. Oh, interesting. Oh, it usually does help to put it properly in the socket. Ah, there we go. All right, that looks good. So I'm going to save this. It is 1007A. All right, so now I'm going to clear the buffer again. Actually, let me do an ID check. Ah, it is reading an ID from the chip. All right, so I'm going to open the one I downloaded. All right, and I'm going to program it onto the chip. Jesse says USB to serial adapters are hot garbage. Hardware Hacker says Wheel of eBay regrets indeed. Yeah. Guess I need to wait on another order. Chipset of the adapter isn't compatible with my macOS version. Oof. There we go. I have programmed an updated BIOS, whether this board wanted it or not. So now, let me put the BIOS chip back in. Luckily, I remembered which way it was inserted into the board. And 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3. And the board needs recapped, I think. Still didn't post the first power up. All right. Hopefully. All right, that looks good. All right, so let's load the BIOS defaults. All right, clock is still correct. That's all correct. Caches are enabled. All right. All right. Let's see here that all looks correct. Now we can turn on smart capability. Let's see here. I think that's all looks good. Unlock on, yep, chipset features by SPD. Yep, that is good. Yeah, I think we'll leave all those for now. Okay, power management, disable. Plug and play OS, no. I do want to save and exit. All right, so let's see here if this has improved anything. Next reboot, we're going to enable quick. No, we're going to enable that now. Because otherwise I'll forget. BIOS features. Quick power on, self-test enabled. There we go. Function 10, yes. There we go. Chris says, I just bought an NES backpack. It's the coolest thing ever, lol. He's going to send me a picture. Awesome. Looky here, we have a beta BIOS. It supports other processors. It supports larger disks, and I'm not using either. All right, let's see if that helps this processor any. All right, we're going to run SpeedSys first. And ignore it's complaining that I have a memory manager loaded. Now, this processor benchmarked a little while ago as like a Pentium 133, and it's still benchmarked there. What is up with this? Now, there is a defect with this board that is documented, but it's only supposed to affect the plus processor, so I don't get this. It's acting like this board is acting like it's seemingly doing what the plus processors are documented to do in this board. I have not been able to find the information I want on as to what the cause is. There is a fix, although ASUS didn't publish the fix because it involves soldering a bodging in a resistor and a jumper wire on the bottom. So before I do that on this board, for a problem that is only supposed to affect the plus processors, I would like to understand more what's going on. But anyways, this is the 300 processor that started this whole deal with this board. And with this beta BIOS, let's see what it detects as. And then we'll actually we'll run benchmarks. All right, so let's try turning this on. Oh, there we go. It posts right away. And K6-2 300 processor. What do you know? That's correct. All right. So let's go to DOS Bench. anyone's wondering, I was kind of half expecting it to report the processor as something else. But anyways, all right. So first, let's run check CPU. All right. So it's showing up that that's a Chomper extended, AMD K6-2 Chomper extended. It has CPU ID 58C. Okay, that's all correct. All right, that all looks correct. Now, let's run cache check here. And let's see if this does what it was doing last time. All right. Huh. Do I have the wrong 300 processor? Okay, let's see what it says in the summary, and I might have to scroll back on my last live stream with this board to confirm that I'm not imagining something. All right. All right, so while this runs, let me go to YouTube. I want to pull this up for comparison because something seems to be different tonight. All right, so let's see here. View on YouTube. Oh, yeah, I just remembered. I meant to thank everyone for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. I couldn't have done it without you all, so thank you. The snowstorm made me forget to mention that closer to the beginning of the stream. In fact, I completely missed crossing 1,000 subscribers, so I did not get a screenshot of that. Sure enough. All right. Yes, that's a Pentium 3. Hold on, I'm oh, that's not the I'm scrolling to the right part of the live stream. Oh, that's where I've got a Pentium 133 on the board. That is oh, when did I pull out the There we go. All right, there's the ALI board on the bench. K6-2. $500. Wait a minute. I may have gotten my CPUs mixed up here. 6-2, 500. Oh, thank you to Hardware Hacker. In honor of a 1K subscriber, here's 1,000 cents. Thank you. That'll go good towards my ECF East goal. Eep. 1,000 little pennies. Ah, there we go. Oh, never mind. I think I see what was going on. Hi, John. Welcome. Yeah, that is not the. That's not the correct clock speed. It's okay. I see what was going on last time when I got mixed up by something. I think the problem is that these processors are just benchmarking slow. The cache, I guess the cache is not working. Actually, I think cache check just doesn't necessarily calculate the correct clock speed. Although it is possible the cache is not working correctly. I think that's the problem with this board. There's some, but the problem is supposed to only be on the plus processors. No one online says anything about the non-plus processors being affected, but I think the non-plus processors are affected on this board. All right. We're showing 2 caches. That's correct. I think I see what was confusing me on my last live stream. I scrolled back to... Now, this is with the 500 megahertz clock to 500 megahertz. But if you'll note, I was seeing 3 caches, but what I didn't realize 2 weeks ago is that these times are so close to each other that it's just a timing error. So it had nothing to do with nothing to. I thought it was a plus processor in disguise, but I didn't realize the timings were so close. I made to realize it was a timing error when cache check ran. So I guess the real mystery on this board is why do the non-plus processors seemingly run at okay, look at that. Okay, so this 300 megahertz processor is actually benchmarking where it's supposed to. Why is my 500 megahertz not? So maybe that's the processor that's having trouble. Maybe it's my 500 that's at fault. Hardware Hacker says, perhaps the processors lost big gambling and now have a cash flow issue. Lol. Error, divide overflow. Wait a minute. Hold on. That doesn't say divide overflow. That says divide over L flow. Overall flow. Divide overall flow. And that think it crashed. have a... Do I maybe have a RAM issue here? Is this maybe... Is this maybe all RAM? All right, you know what time it's for? What time it is? It's mem test time. Do we have a RAM issue that's been causing all these problems all along? Sadmax says, laughing at overall flow. Yeah. Slight typo in the error message. I mean, I guess I can't really be the one to point out their mistake, because auto incorrect is always doing me a dirty deed all the time. Like, oh, you're trying to type a real word? Well, let me make you mistype that word for you. My phone likes to add words to the end of words that don't belong. And I don't know why it does it. And I even I've tried to reset the predictive typing database in an attempt to fix it, thinking that maybe I somehow got the word, like this non-existent compound word, stuck in its database, but no, that didn't fix it. Sadback says, it's the kind of mistake that accidentally slipped past me. Yeah, I thought it said overflow at first until I looked and realized there was an extra L in it. Hardware Hacker says, yeah, my autocorrect doesn't like me either. Yeah, that's why I call it auto incorrect. Predictive auto incorrect. It likes to incorrect the message the moment I click send. Hardware Hacker says, that actually was intentionally misspelled for comedy. Alright, we'll see what MemTest says. That would be really great if we figure out that it was a memory problem all along. In reality, probably I'll, as much as I would like to use this motherboard for an AMD K6-2 processor, at least until I can understand exactly what the fix for the Plus processors is doing, I don't want to do it to this board to fix a non-Plus processor, because I find it odd that I'm seeing the problem on a non-Plus processor, and I'm not exactly sure what the fix is doing, because some of the websites that describe this information have gone offline, or forum posts are lost, or things like that. So I don't want to just bodge the board, because I like to be able to swap processors in and out. And if this fix makes it so that you can use a Plus processor, but not anything else, I'll probably just use this board for other processors. It's not like I don't have a few. I know I have at least one more Super 7 board. It's in my second PC rebuild project. But I think I have another Super Socket 7 board that doesn't have any weird issues. It only has the standard issues. Because here's the deal with Super Socket 7. It was a great concept. 100 megahertz frontside bus on Socket 7. AGP. The whole works. AMD was trying to stay relevant until they could get their slot 1 processors ready for the market, because Intel had basically said socket 7 is the last platform that you can license our socket. So AMD extended it for 100 megahertz, and they depended on some other companies to make the chipsets. And the problem is, I think all 3 sockets, Super Socket 7 chipsets are just quirky. Because there's the ALI M1541 that's in this board. There's the VIA MVP3, which I think my other 2 Super Socket 7 boards are the VIA chipset. And then I think SIS had one. Although usually most boards I see with it have one board built-in graphics, so there's no AGP slot. But the onboard graphics are supposedly AGP graphics. So maybe it's not really Super Socket 7, but it does do 100 megahertz front-side bus. But the problem is all 3 of the chipsets were quirky. And while I think the chipset vendors did at least try to release drivers to alleviate most of the quirks, it kind of did leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So when AMD came out with slot 1, they instituted a qualification tests for chipset manufacturers, because they wanted to make sure the chipsets were a high quality. So I think the slot 1 motherboards, I don't think I can remember many complaints about the chipsets when it came to, or not slot 1, slot A, excuse me. So the slot A motherboards, I think the chipsets were fairly high quality. And I think AMD had their own chipset too, although it might have been a rebranded VIA chipset. Because I know with the AMD 761, I think or 760 might have been the chipset model. I think you could use the VIA Southbridge with it, or an AMD Southbridge. It could use one of either of the Southbridges. So I'm kind of wondering if AMD's Northbridge might have actually been a rebranded VIA part. Or VIA might have helped them. But anyways, yeah, the Super Socket 7 boards, the chipsets were quirky. So honestly, it doesn't... I am not surprised at all that Asus released a Super Socket 7 board that was missing an important signal for the cache to work on the processor. Because I think that's what the bodge is for this board. I think it's adding a pull-up or a pull-down to one of the cache signals. Because you have to add a resistor and a wire. But I want to understand the fix a little more before I just do it, because as I said, I like to swap processors in and out. So I'd like to be able to use the board with other processors. I don't want to be limited to a K6-2 or a K6-3. But I guess at least with this BIOS update, I think it'll support up to a 32 gigabyte hard drive. The way that whoever fixed the BIOS fixed it, they couldn't work around a bug in the BIOS. So the original BIOS for this board, I think, had an 8 gigabyte limit. They figured out how to fix it up to 128 gigabytes in principle. However, there's a bug in the BIOS that I don't think there's enough room in the BIOS to put a patch in for it. Or I don't know. Or the nature of the bug makes it nearly impossible to patch or impossible to patch. I don't know what the case is. Anyways, apparently somewhere in the LBA addressing code in the BIOS, there's a bug that causes it to lock up or something like that above 32 gigabytes. So even though the patch supports up to 128 gigabytes. There's another problem somewhere else in the BIOS that effectively limits it to 32 gigabytes. But hey, that's better than 8 gigabyte limit. Yeah, Sadmax says, I'm familiar with the 8 gigabyte limit. Yeah, and apparently something in the LBA addressing this BIOS makes it to you can't really patch to 128 gigabytes. Because then after that, you have to have, I think, 48-bit LBA. I don't know. I tried reading the page on the BIOS fix, so... But the other thing this beta BIOS adds is detection for the Plus processors, and I guess the appropriate microcode to download to them. Or at least it can detect the processor and configure the processor. Set the required registers for the processor to be usable and be able to enable and disable the caches as you set in the BIOS. So while this runs, all right, so we're about halfway done. Was actually going to see if I could find my other Super Socket 7 board. The one that's not in my second PC rebuild. Because I kind of would like to try the K6-2 processor in it to see if it benchmarks correctly. Because then I could say it probably is this board. So I'll be back momentarily. Yeah, I'm running memtest just to make sure this RAM's fine, because we got to divide overall flow from SpeedSys. It was a divide overflow, but it had a typo in it. I know. Typing can be hard sometimes. Alright, let me see if I can find that board that I think I got around here somewhere. Okay. Upon further reflection and a walk around the basement, I think I might be mistaken on how many functional Super Socket 7 boards I have. It dawned on me I have one in my repair pile, although it's probably hopeless, so it probably really should be in the scrap pile. It won't post at all. Luckily, it was one it was given to me, so don't have anything in it. So that might be the other board I was thinking of. I was thinking I had another one, but it's not in my motherboard box. And I don't remember putting it in a case. So I must be getting the one that's in my repair pile mixed up with some imaginary board that I invented out of thin air or something. Of course, the thing is, I could be thinking of one I tried to buy on eBay and maybe didn't get, but I don't know. I I apparently don't have another Super Socket 7 board. It's probably the gist of it, because the one in my repair pile is probably not repairable. Hardware Hacker says, Trina will be sad she's missing this. Hardware Hacker also says, I suddenly feel the urge to listen to the original series Star Trek bridge sounds. Yeah, no, sorry to disappoint, but I don't have the bridge sounds. And I don't want to risk the wrath of Paramount. Because if there's one company I fear more than Sony, it would be Paramount. No, it's Sony. Oh, I think it dawned on me. I think I now know where my other. Uh, yeah, thank you, Hardware Hacker. I do have an IBM Aptiva that is technically Super Socket 7, but it doesn't have AGP, so I kind of usually exclude it in my mind. Maybe that's the other one I was thinking of. Also, I have made a mess of my walkway, so good thing tomorrow's trash day. Yep, I think I imagined up a Super Socket 7 board that I don't actually own. So if you have a spare Super Socket 7 board you'd like to donate to the channel, please reach out to me. Maybe one that doesn't have factory direct quirks. Maybe I'll look for one at VCF East. That might be a good place to pick one up. Or the swap meet. I think there's a swap meet coming up in May, if I'm not mistaken. This might be two good places to find a board at a reasonable price. Because I'm not opposed to buying a decent board. I'd just rather get it at a decent price. And unfortunately, Super Socket 7 kind of expensive on eBay. I want to be there for the swap meet. I'll put it that way. I don't know what weekend it is, and I'll certainly try to block it off on my calendar. But I would like to be at the swap meet. It'd be the System Source swap meet, which is in at the Maryland Technology Museum, aka System Source. I think they're having a swap meet in May. Because that it's kind of a smallish swap meet, but VCF East. VCF East is consignment. I don't know if I'll be able to be at the VCF East swap meet, or the VCF swap meet. I don't know what weekend that is, because I know there's also usually a swap meet in New Jersey. But at the moment, they don't have that listed on the VCF website, probably because the next event in New Jersey is VCF East. So I don't think they have swap meets. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Event swap meet. Okay, they haven't announced a swap meet yet. The system source swap meet is... Oh, not on the VCF site, but I think they announced it. I think System Source did announce it. I thought they announced it. That doesn't look great. Oh, May 2nd and 3rd. Okay. I think that's when it is. Yeah, May 2nd. And the rain date is going to be May 3rd. I'll have to block that off on my calendar. Yeah. Oh, up in New Jersey, next swap meet will be May 31st, question mark, question mark. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it to the swap meet in May. Because the thing is, normally I have a fall beach trip, but this year I've got a late spring beach trip. So I have to kind of trying to be cognizant of how many weekends I travel in the month of May so that I still have time to do work around the house. I do have some things I need to do before it gets too hot outside and build a workbench. So, because the thing is, my beach trip will basically blow away 2 weekends effectively. Because the one weekend would be gone because we'd be the trip Saturday to Saturday. But by the time I get back from the trip, I'm probably not going to want to do housework that Sunday, or at least not heavy housework. Because by the time I get home, it'll be late, and I'll have been in a car all day Saturday. Not necessarily driving all day Saturday, because I think dad's chauffeur, but I'll have to drive from their house to mine. So, so there's 2 weekends there that are not available. And then I do want to go to the swap meet up at System Source. There's at least half of a weekend. So I don't know if I'll make the swap meet up in New Jersey. Just simply because I'll be running out of weekends fairly quickly. But we'll see. Maybe after VCF East I might change my mind. Let's see what I managed to find at consignment at VCF East. All right, we have a pass from Mem Test. So I guess this memory is okay. Trina will be happy, says Thomas. Yes. Yep, VCF East is the 17th through the 19th in April. Yep. All right, so with this AMD 300, wait a minute, we ran speed system, benchmarked correctly. I plan on being there all 3 days at VCF East. Although Friday is no exhibits are open Friday, but there are talks. And then exhibits are open Saturday and Sunday, and then there's more talks Saturday and Sunday. But I'm planning on being there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Okay, so this AMD 300 is working correctly. Even if we did get a divide overflow in SpeedSys. Alright, so let's so you saw we had frames per second of 100 in Doom. Alright, so I'm going to put our I'm going to take our probably completely working 300 out, and you all probably saw that it was running at a 66 megahertz frontside bus. Well, it is it's one of the K6-2 300s that is for a 66 megahertz bus. So I don't think I don't think these ones will do 100 megahertz frontside bus, because I think they might be. I don't know if they'll do 100 times 3, because they're designed for a 66 megahertz bus, but I do know that the regular 300s will do 4.5 times 66. All right, so let's do this. I've got a 400. And I'm going to configure this board real quick for 100 megahertz frontside bus. Because there's yeah, no use of me setting it for anything else. All these are all my AMD processors that I have in the stack are 2.2 volt. Just the way it happens, so I don't have to worry about changing the voltage. So let's see here. All right. Well, that jumper setting, God, is not really that great. Oh wait, is this the wrong? Oh, hold on. I pulled up the wrong user manual. Okay, so, all right, let's see here if I can set this real quick. So, for 100 megahertz bus, I need to set these jumpers kind of I think completely opposite them to the way they are now. Almost. That jumper is actually correct. There we go. Okay, so that's that. And then for the clock, I need a multiplier of 4. So that is going to be on this jumper block here. And there we go. I just need to move one. One slightly disintegrating jumper. But I just need to move it to here. And then I should be good. Because the voltage of all these processors is the same. All right, there we go. So, will it benchmark faster or slower than the 300? Place your bets. Will it even post? Place your bets. Oh, there we go. It just required some motivation to post. There we go, K6-2 400. I mean, this should run fantastically. And we're just going to go for Doom. So the 300 megahertz ran at 101 frames per second, somewhere around there. This is looking similarly fast. $134.09. This processor looks like it's running totally fine. All right, we'll run speed sys. Pentium 2 400. That's right. Is there maybe something wrong with my 500 megahertz processor? Yeah, this benchmarked just under a Pentium 2 400, which for integer workloads is probably about right. Floating point's another story, but integer workflows, yeah, it's probably about right. Is it maybe my 500 megahertz processor? That is entirely possible that I have a bad processor. I mean, that would be something special that the processor is like good enough to like act like it's running but bad enough to not run at the right speed. Is that even possible? Anyways, there, check CPU if anyone's wondering. There we go. AMD K6-2, Chomper Extended. Chomper Extended being the code name, because there was a Chomper as well. 400 megahertz, 4 times 100. CPU ID 58C. That is correct. And again, we'll run Doom again. All right. Actually, I'm curious. I just thought of something. Okay. Let me try something here. What happens if I hit Control Delete? So we got a warm boot. For anyone curious, you can see I updated the BIOS earlier in the stream tonight. So I'm running the latest version of the BIOS. It's not an official from Asus BIOS, but it is the latest version of the BIOS available. But I'm trying something. So after a warm boot, sometimes I do restart while running benchmarks for various reasons. Does it still benchmark the same after a warm boot? Well, okay. Answer, yes. That is, I was wondering if maybe there's a BIOS bug and it doesn't enable the cache, or doesn't enable one of the caches on a warm boot. Maybe that's why I was seeing weird problems. But, no. Okay, this 400 processor is... Okay, that's working quite nice. I know we're running up on the end of the stream. But, okay. So, we've confirmed that the 300 megahertz I have works correctly. And we've confirmed the 400 megahertz here works correctly. And I'm totally fine with maybe using a 400 megahertz in this board if I got a problem with the faster processor. I'll also note this 400 megahertz processor does have a number there. So I couldn't find the site I found last week that had what those numbers are and what they mean. So I will have to check the number later. So in the meantime, we'll assume that the number is there being a number there is correct. And in fact, there's one of the 300 megahertz processors I have. It's got the number stamped there from the factory. This one, I think the number might be there, but it might be in black ink, which might be why it's so hard to read. Or maybe this one's new enough that AMD had stopped stamping it. And that could be the deal. But so here's the 500 megahertz processor that I was having trouble with. So we're going to put it in the board. I'm almost tempted to just leave the multiplier set to 4x. Because it should benchmark the same. If I leave it at 4x, it should benchmark the same as the 400 megahertz. Because these aren't multiplier locked. But I might break the internet by doing something silly like that. So I'll set the multiplier to 5x. So it should benchmark faster. I mean, Doom might hit a frame cap, because I think at some point Doom just cannot run any faster than it is. This jumper is broken, if anyone's wondering. All right, so according to the manual, 5x should be this right there. There we go. All right. So, all right, back to capture. And all right, well, I guess I'll order caps for this board someday. It probably just needs a recap. There's probably a cap that's on its way out. All right, there we go. AMD K6-2 500. The basement was like 45 degrees Fahrenheit when I first got down here. I don't know what it is now. I moved my little temperature thing to a different spot in the basement. I've got heaters running, but I am going to end the stream here in a few minutes because my feet are cold. All right, so Doom. And I could be imagining things, but that looks slower. .56 frames per second. All right, we'll run SpeedSys. So, sure enough, this 500 megahertz processor is running slower than it should be. All right, well, we don't need to run the memory test, but I do want to run check CPU. And, all right, it does say it's a Chomper extended, 500 megahertz, 5 by 100 megahertz, CPU ID 58C. So, sure enough, this 500 megahertz processor is running slower than the 400 megahertz processor. Unfortunately, I think that's about all we have time for tonight, because I don't have another 500 megahertz CPU. I have a 533, but that's actually supposed to be 95 megahertz by 5.5, I believe. And I actually have two of those 533s. Probably because I forgot that I bought one and then I bought a second one. But, okay, I'm curious enough. All right, well, we're gonna try one more CPU here real quick. So this 533, I'm going to just put in the socket as if it was the 500 and go. I think it probably will run it. I think it will run at 5 times 100. I don't think it'll try to run at 550 as a 550. So, technically not an overclock. If it does what I think it's going to do. So, all right. So this is All right, so this is a 533 that we're clocking at 500 because I'm curious. All right, so let's first run check CPU. All right, 500, chopper extended, 58C, CPU ID, yep, 5 times 100. Okay. So on the surface, $89.45. Interesting. Benchmark slow. I'm wondering if we're running into a different problem. All right, so I guess it's all right. So obviously, whatever we're running into, it's not just my 500 megahertz processor. The 533 is showing the problem too. I have a new theory. We are not going to test it tonight. I wonder if the K6-2, because I know that I've read that its pipeline didn't really extend well to like faster clock speeds. I'm wondering if the reason why the 500 megahertz is running slower than the 400 megahertz is that we're actually seeing the effects of the pipeline not scaling with the processor the processor speed. And maybe the sweet spot is 400 to 450 megahertz. I don't know how to test that, but maybe that's kind of my new theory, that maybe the sweet spot's 400 megahertz, and any faster and you start to lose the gains because the pipeline in the processor is just isn't such that it scales to a faster clock speed. Because I find it odd that I would have two processors that would both be defective in the same way, given they came from different sellers at different times. I'm wondering if it maybe more is just a processor. The processor was just unable to scale that well, and possibly even AMD sold the part because they knew people would pay for the clock speed, even though it didn't really scale that well. And maybe for like general purpose compute, like your word processor, spreadsheet, database type tasks, maybe it was faster, but I'm wondering if maybe by the time you actually run something like Doom or a benchmark, you see the effects of the pipeline not scaling. But that is a theory for another night. So I thank you all for joining me for tonight's live stream. I'm glad that it's not below freezing out. Well, it is below freezing now outside, but it actually got warm enough today that the basement was tolerable. So don't forget to smash that like button if you like it when I explore these old platforms. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. Next week, I believe live streams will be Tuesday, Thursday. And next week's theme will be the IBM PC. So just because of my release schedule at work, I'm trying a new trying a new live stream scheduling theme. So each week will be like 2 nights to work on a project. So next week we'll be looking at the IBM PC and working on that both nights. It's to try to simplify things and also give me a way that even if I end up, due to having to stay at work later than I planned, having to move the live stream back to 9 on a Tuesday, then at least know that I'll have hours to work on a project so that I don't look at, if I have to move back on a Tuesday, kind of be like, well, I don't have enough time to work on this now. I got to change topics. So with 2 nights to work on something, even if I'd have to bump Tuesday, then I think I'll still have time to work on it. So next week will be for the IBM PC, and then I think the following week I want to look at the LC475. So, but next week I think is Tuesday, Thursday. I think I've also learned for a given Tuesday that when I have a meeting, there's a certain meeting on my calendar that when it falls on my calendar, I need to do Monday, Thursday live streams for my sanity. So anyways, yeah. So next week we'll be looking at the IBM PC. The Socket 7, I'm going to set this aside. We'll come back to it later. But next week's for the IBM PC. I'd like to get that put back together so I can put it on the shelf as an assembled computer, because right now it's in 3 piles of parts. Because I have the lid, I have the base with some parts stuck on it, and then I have some of the other parts on another pile. So anyways, I hope to see you all there. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. Yep. So it should be Tuesday at 8, Thursday at 9, unless work makes me bump it back. And I'm going to try to make it on Dave's stream Sunday for at least an hour or 2. I'm going to try. I ended up not getting home in time on Sunday. So hopefully maybe this weekend I might be able to join for a little while. I will try. So if I don't see you there, though, I hope to see you here on Tuesday. Be here, or T-Rex is going to say roar really loudly while you're wearing headphones. You don't want that, so be here. And with that, hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care.